I opened up my marriage because I thought it would bring us closer together. Instead, my wife fell in love with my best friend behind my back, and the life I knew shattered into 1,000 pieces overnight. But here is the part that nobody expected, not even me. 9 years later, we are still together. And this is the story of how we got there. Before I tell you what happened, I need you to understand what we had. Because without that context, without understanding what was at stake, the betrayal does not carry its full weight. My wife, I will call her Sarah, and I had been together for 6 years when this story begins. 6 years of building something I genuinely believed was permanent. We met at a friend's barbecue in our mid-20s, one of those summer afternoons where everyone is slightly sunburned and slightly buzzed, and the world feels full of possibility. She was standing by the grill talking to someone about a book I had just read, and I did what any reasonable person would do. I eavesdropped shamelessly until I found an opening to join the conversation. Our first real conversation lasted 3 hours. We sat on lawn chairs in the backyard long after most of the other guests had left, swatting at mosquitoes and talking until the sky turned purple and the first stars appeared. She was smart and funny and had this way of looking at you when you were speaking that made you feel like the most interesting person in the world. I asked for her number. She gave it to me. I called her the next day, which I later learned was sooner than the unwritten rules allowed. But she picked up on the first ring, which told me the rules did not apply to us. We moved fast. Dating turned to exclusive in a month. Exclusive turned to living together in 6 months. Living together turned to married in 2 years. We had a small wedding, just family and close friends, in a garden behind her parents' house. She wore a simple white dress with wildflowers in her hair. I cried during my vows and she cried during hers, and our friends made fun of us for it, and we did not care. We built a life together. A real, tangible, brick-by-brick life. We bought a house in a quiet neighborhood with a big backyard and a creaky front porch that I kept promising to fix. We got a dog, a scruffy mutt from the shelter who shed on everything and stole food off the counter and was, without question, the third most important being in our household. We had a child, a beautiful, stubborn, impossibly energetic little person who had Sarah's dark eyes and my annoying habit of asking why about everything. We had our routines and our inside jokes and our favorite restaurant where the waiter knew our order. We were happy. We were solid. We were the couple that other couples looked at and said, I want what they have. But there were small lies. Little white lies, the kind that every couple has. Or at least the kind that every couple tells themselves every couple has. Lies about how much something cost. Lies about who ate the last of the leftovers. Lies about being fine when you are not fine. Nothing that threatened the foundation. Nothing that kept me up at night. Just the normal, low-grade dishonesty that humans engage in to keep the peace. I told myself the lies did not matter. That was my first mistake. About 4 months before everything fell apart, Sarah and I had a conversation that changed the trajectory of our marriage. We had been experimenting, cautiously and gradually, with opening our relationship. It started with swinging, meeting other couples, having experiences together that added novelty and excitement to a marriage that, if I am being honest, had started to feel a bit routine. The swinging was my idea initially. I had read about it, talked to people who had done it, and thought it could be something fun that we explored as a team. Sarah was hesitant at first, but eventually warmed to it. We set rules. We would do everything together. We would communicate openly. We would stop immediately if either of us felt uncomfortable. And for a while, it worked. We had a few experiences with other couples, and they brought an energy to our relationship that had been fading. We talked more. We laughed more. We felt more connected than we had in years. I thought we had found the secret hack to keeping a long-term relationship exciting. But Sarah wanted more. The physical experiences were fine, she said, but she craved emotional connection with other people too. She wanted the depth and intimacy that comes from genuinely caring about someone, not just the thrill of a one-night encounter with strangers. I understood. Or at least, I told her I understood. In truth, I was nervous. There is a vast difference between sharing a physical experience with your spouse and watching your spouse develop emotional bonds with someone else. The first feels like an adventure you are having together. The second feels like watching someone slowly walk away from you. But I wanted to make her happy, and I wanted to be the kind of partner who was open-minded and secure enough to handle this. So I agreed. We could explore connections with other people, as long as we both approved of each other's partners and built those connections together as a team. No secrets, no sneaking around, full transparency. Those were the rules. Simple, clear, unambiguous rules that we both agreed to and shook hands on, figuratively speaking. Around the same time, an old friend of mine moved back to town. I will call him Derek. Derek and I went way back, 12 years of friendship forged in the fires of our 20s, when we were broke and dumb and thought we were invincible. He had been away for a few years, living in another city for work, and when he came back it was like no time had passed at all. We picked up right where we left off, like a conversation that had been paused mid-sentence. I told Derek about Sarah and me opening our relationship. I needed someone to talk to about it, someone outside the dynamic who could listen without judgment. And Derek was perfect for that. He was supportive and curious and asked thoughtful questions. I told him about our adventures with other couples, about the rules we had set, about how it was bringing us closer together. It felt good to have a friend I could be completely honest with about this part of my life. Sarah and Derek got along well. They always had. But I started noticing that they were spending time together without me. Not a lot at first. Coffee here, a walk there. But gradually the solo hangouts became more frequent. And Sarah started lying about them. She would tell me she was going to the grocery store and come back 2 hours later with one bag. She would say she was meeting a girlfriend for lunch, and I would later learn she had been with Derek. Small lies. The same kind of small lies I had been dismissing for our entire relationship. The kind that do not matter. Except they did matter. They mattered enormously. Because small lies are rarely about the thing they are lying about. They are about the thing behind the thing. And the thing behind Sarah's lies was that she was developing feelings for my best friend. I want to be clear about something. Sarah had actually come to me and asked if she could explore a relationship with Derek. She brought it to me directly, which at least showed that some part of her still respected the rules we had set. But I said no. I said no because I was afraid. I had known Derek for 12 years. He was one of only 2 close friends I had, and the bond between us was precious to me. Our friend group had gone through a bad falling out years earlier, and most of the people in it had turned on me. Derek was one of the only ones who stuck by my side. Losing that friendship would mean losing one of the last pillars of my social support system. So I vetoed it. I told Sarah that Derek was off limits, that I was not comfortable with it, that I wanted to protect the friendship. She seemed to accept it. She nodded and said she understood, and we moved on. Or so I thought. What I did not know, what I would not discover for another 3 months, was that they did not stop. They did not even pause. My wife and my best friend heard my boundary, acknowledged it, and then proceeded to cross it repeatedly, secretly, deliberately, while I sat at home trusting both of them with a faith that now makes me physically sick to remember. The night I found out was unremarkable in every way except for how it ended. I was hanging out with Derek at his place, just the 2 of us, watching a game and drinking beer. It was the kind of evening I had been having with Derek for over a decade, comfortable and easy and punctuated by long silences that did not need filling. But Derek said something, a comment that was slightly too specific, slightly too intimate in its knowledge of Sarah's preferences or schedule or something I had not shared with him. The exact words do not matter. What matters is the feeling that detonated in my chest, the sudden, nauseating certainty that something was very wrong. I went home. Sarah was in bed, reading. The lamp on her nightstand cast warm shadows across the room. Our child was asleep down the hall. It was a scene of such ordinary domestic peace that what I was about to do felt almost violent. Is something going on between you and Derek? She denied it. Of course she denied it. She denied it with the practiced ease of someone who has been rehearsing the denial for months, who has played out this exact scenario in her head 100 times and prepared the perfect response. But I kept pushing. Something in my voice, or maybe something in my eyes, told her that this time was different. This time I was not going to accept the denial and move on. This time I needed the truth, or I was going to tear the walls of this house apart looking for it. She broke. Slowly at first, in fragments and half-admissions and carefully worded confessions designed to minimize the damage. And then all at once, like a dam collapsing under pressure it could no longer contain. For the past 3 months, she and Derek had been seeing each other whenever I was away. They had been intimate at least twice. They had fooled around numerous other times. My wife and my best friend had been carrying on a secret relationship in the spaces I left empty when I went to work, when I visited family, when I ran errands, when I did any of the mundane, necessary things that make up a life. The feeling was unlike anything I have experienced before or since. It was not anger, not at first. It was something more primal than anger. It was the sensation of the ground beneath your feet turning to water, of looking at the person you trust most in the world and suddenly not recognizing them, of realizing that the life you thought you were living, the marriage you thought you had, the friendship you thought was sacred, none of it was what you believed it to be. I confronted Derek the next day. We met in a parking lot behind a strip mall, of all places, because I did not trust myself to be in a confined space with him, and I did not want him in my house ever again. He stood by his car with his hands in his pockets and a look on his face that I can only describe as defiant calm. He said he loved Sarah. He said it without shame or apology, like a man who had already rehearsed this conversation in the mirror and decided that sincerity would be his defense. He said the words like they were an explanation that should satisfy me, as if the presence of love justified the absence of loyalty. And Sarah showed remorse, eventually. Not immediately. Immediately, both of them seemed confused about why I was so upset. After all, we had an open relationship, did we not? We were exploring connections with other people, were we not? What was the difference? The difference, I wanted to scream, was consent. The difference was honesty. The difference was that I had explicitly said no, that I had drawn a clear boundary around my best friend, and they had both stepped over that boundary and then pretended it did not exist. The difference between what we had agreed to do and what they actually did was the difference between a gift and a theft. The object might be the same, but the act of taking it without permission transforms everything. I said those things, or some version of them, through tears and rage and a voice that I barely recognized as my own. And then I went to bed in a house that no longer felt like home, next to a woman who no longer felt like my wife, and I stared at the ceiling until dawn. In the aftermath, I discovered something that made everything worse. Derek had gotten Sarah into drugs, Adderall and cocaine, introduced gradually over the 3 months of their secret relationship. Sarah was a former addict. She had been clean for years, and that sobriety was something she was deeply proud of and fiercely protective of. And Derek knew this. He knew her history, her vulnerability, her hard-won recovery, and he introduced substances into the equation anyway. When I found out about the drugs, the anger that had been building in me ignited into something white-hot and dangerous. This was not just an affair. This was not just a breach of trust between partners. This was a man who had exploited my wife's vulnerability, who had used chemical dependency as a tool of attachment, who had knowingly endangered her sobriety to keep her hooked on their relationship. Derek had also lied to Sarah to facilitate the affair. He showed her fabricated text messages claiming that I had given my permission for their relationship. He told her I had said things I never said, expressed support I never expressed, used specific phrases that he invented out of whole cloth to make Sarah believe that what they were doing had my blessing. When I saw those texts, when Sarah showed them to me in the cold light of a counseling session weeks later, I felt something I had never felt before, the absolute dissolution of a friendship. Not a gradual fading, not a growing apart, not a quiet ending. An explosion. A bomb going off in the foundation of a 12-year bond that I thought was indestructible. Derek was not my friend. He never had been, or at least, the person I thought was my friend had been replaced somewhere along the way by someone willing to destroy my marriage, endanger my wife, and lie to both of us for his own benefit. Sarah checked herself into a treatment center. The drugs had grabbed hold faster than either of us expected, and she was scared. Scared of the relapse, scared of what she had become, scared of what she had done to us. She went voluntarily, and I drove her there, and I waited in the parking lot after she went inside because I did not know where else to go. We started couples counseling. We were lucky to find a therapist who specialized in non-traditional relationship structures, someone who understood the nuances of what we were trying to do and could separate the infidelity from the lifestyle choice. Because those are two different things. Being in an open relationship does not mean anything goes. Being open is about expansion, about adding to your life with the full knowledge and consent of your partner. Cheating is about subtraction, about taking something that was not offered and hiding the theft. In counseling, everything came out. Sarah talked about feeling trapped by the affair, like she had dug herself into a hole so deep that she could not see the way out. so she numbed the pain with substances instead of facing the truth. She talked about how Derek had manipulated her, how the fabricated texts had made her believe she was operating within the boundaries of our agreement, how the drugs had clouded her judgment until she could not tell right from wrong. I listened to all of it, and I hated every word. Not because I doubted her, but because every detail added another layer to the betrayal, another reason to leave, another crack in a marriage that already felt like it was held together with nothing but stubbornness and the desperate hope that love was stronger than damage. Sarah wanted to make it right. She had this idea that I should sleep with another woman to even the scales. She brought it up in therapy, earnestly, like it was a reasonable solution to a mathematical problem. If she had cheated, then I should cheat too, and then they would be even and the slate would be clean. I told her no. I was not going to sleep with someone out of spite or obligation or some misguided attempt at emotional bookkeeping. Revenge is not healing. Symmetry is not justice. Two wrongs do not make a relationship right. They just make two people wrong. She kept pushing. Even after counseling, even after months of recovery and rebuilding, she would bring it up. She could not forgive herself, she said, until I had done the same thing to her. She wanted to feel the pain she had caused me because she believed that shared pain would cancel out the original wound. I understood the impulse even as I rejected it. She was trying to fix something that could not be fixed through reciprocity. The only thing that could fix us was time and honesty and the slow, grueling, unglamorous work of choosing each other every single day, even when it would be easier to walk away. After about 5 months of counseling, we stopped going. Not because we were fixed, but because we had built enough of a foundation to continue the work on our own. Our relationship was in a fragile but genuine state of recovery. The trust was not back, not fully, but it was returning in small increments, like a tide creeping up a beach 1 inch at a time. Sarah would randomly apologize. We would be cooking dinner or driving somewhere or sitting on the couch watching nothing in particular, and she would get this look on her face and say, "I am sorry." Just like that, out of nowhere. And I would say, "I know." And we would sit with it for a moment, the weight of what happened and the miracle of still being together despite it. We started the slow, painful, unglamorous process of rebuilding. There were no dramatic breakthrough moments, no movie scene reconciliations where everything clicked into place. There was just the daily grind of showing up, of being honest when honesty was hard, of choosing vulnerability over defensiveness. We set new boundaries. We communicated with an intensity and specificity that would have felt exhausting before the affair, but now felt necessary, like physical therapy after an injury. Every conversation was an exercise in honesty. Every disagreement was navigated with the awareness that our margin for error was razor thin. Now here is the part that I did not say in my original accounting of what happened. The part that took me years to admit to myself, and that I only began to fully understand after nearly a decade of reflection and growth. I was not blameless. I know. That is a hard thing to say and an even harder thing to hear. He was the one who got cheated on, you are thinking. How can he be anything other than the victim? But relationships are not courtroom dramas where one person is the plaintiff and the other is the defendant. They are ecosystems. Complex, interconnected systems where every action creates a reaction and every absence creates a vacuum. Before the affair, I had checked out. Not dramatically, not visibly, not in a way that anyone looking from the outside would have noticed. But I had checked out. I stayed up late playing video games instead of coming to bed with my wife. I went to bars with coworkers after work instead of coming home to the family that was waiting for me. I did basically anything other than nourish the marriage that I claimed to value. I was present physically but absent emotionally. I was in the house, but not in the relationship. I had let our marriage shift into cruise control, where the engine is running but nobody is steering, and I assumed that the road would stay straight without any effort on my part. And then Derek came back into our lives. And Derek was everything I was not being. He was enthusiastic and attentive and present. He wanted to go on adventures with Sarah on the weekends, to explore flea markets and antique shops, and take photographs. He wanted to listen to her talk about her day, really listen, not the half-attentive nodding I had been doing while my eyes drifted to my phone. He filled the void that I had created. That does not make what they did right. It does not excuse the cheating or the drugs or the lies, but it explains the conditions that made the affair possible. And if I am going to be honest, truly honest, about what happened to my marriage, I have to acknowledge my role in creating those conditions. Was I automatically the good guy just because I remained faithful? I do not think so. Faithfulness in the absence of engagement is not loyalty. It is laziness. I was loyal in the legal sense, but negligent in every way that actually matters to a marriage. I kept my vows while violating the spirit of everything those vows represent. 9 years have passed since that night when I confronted Sarah and the world fell out from under me. 9 years of hard conversations and slow healing and setbacks and breakthroughs and all the messy, unglamorous reality of two people choosing to stay when everything told them to go. We paused the open relationship for 2 years while we rebuilt our foundation. From 2018 to 2022, we cautiously explored connections with other people again, this time with better communication and clearer boundaries and the hard-won wisdom that comes from nearly losing everything. In late 2022, we closed the relationship permanently. We had learned what we needed to learn and decided that the life we wanted was with each other, exclusively, completely. There were casualties along the way that I did not mention at the time. I suffered a brain injury in an accident some years after all of this. The injury makes writing difficult, makes organizing my thoughts a challenge, makes the simple act of putting words on a page feel like running through mud. If my account seems rambling or hard to follow in places, that is why. I am doing my best with a brain that does not work the way it used to. But the injury also gave me perspective. When you lose the ability to do things you took for granted, you develop an appreciation for what remains. And what remains, after everything, is Sarah. Still here, still mine. Still the woman who sat with me on lawn chairs at that barbecue and talked until the stars came out. We are doing great. I can say that with confidence and without qualification. It took a couple of years to come to terms with everything, and a few more years to fully trust again, and a few more after that to stop flinching at the memory. But we got there. Through counseling and communication and an almost absurd stubbornness, we saved what everyone said was unsavable. I know what the cynics are thinking. You are a fool. She will do it again. Once a cheater, always a cheater. You should have left the first time. And maybe the cynics are right. Maybe in some parallel universe, the version of me who left Sarah in 2016 is living a happier, simpler life. Maybe he found someone who never betrayed him, someone who never lied, someone who never broke his heart into pieces so small he did not think they could ever be reassembled. But in this universe, in the only one I have access to, I chose to stay. And I chose to look at myself as honestly as I looked at Sarah's mistakes. I chose to acknowledge that I had been a lousy husband before the affair, that I had neglected the person I promised to cherish, that I had created the conditions for someone else to step into the space I had abandoned. None of that excuses cheating. Let me be absolutely clear about that. Cheating is a choice, and it is the wrong choice, always, without exception. If you are unhappy in your relationship, you talk about it, or you go to counseling, or you leave. You do not sneak around with your partner's best friend and get hooked on drugs and build a secret life on a foundation of lies. But understanding why something happened is not the same as excusing it. And understanding my own failures was essential to repairing what was broken. Because if I had simply played the victim, if I had positioned myself as the innocent party who did nothing wrong, I would have missed the opportunity to become a better partner. And then the cycle would have repeated, maybe not with cheating, but with some other form of neglect or disconnection or slow motion drifting apart. I am telling you this story not because I think our path is the right path for everyone. If your partner cheats and you want to leave, leave. If trust is broken and you cannot rebuild it, do not force yourself to try. Some relationships are not meant to survive their worst moments, and there is no shame in walking away from damage that feels irreparable. But I am telling you that sometimes, in rare cases, with the right combination of willingness and humility and professional help and sheer bloody-minded refusal to give up, you can save something that the whole world tells you is already dead. You can rebuild a marriage from the rubble of betrayal. You can find a version of trust that is actually stronger than the original because it has been tested and tempered and proven under fire. It is the hardest thing I have ever done, harder than the brain injury, harder than the physical recovery, harder than relearning skills I had taken for granted. Rebuilding a marriage after infidelity is a full-time job that requires every ounce of emotional bandwidth you have, and some days you do not have enough, and you want to quit, and you go to bed angry, and you wake up exhausted, and you do it all over again. But we did it. We are doing it. 9 years later, we are still in love. We are still here. We are still choosing each other, not out of habit or obligation or fear of being alone, but because we genuinely, actively, deliberately want to be together. And that, after everything we have been through, feels like a miracle. If you are going through something like this right now, if your world has just been blown apart by a betrayal you did not see coming, I want you to know two things. First, whatever you are feeling is valid. The rage, the grief, the confusion, the desire to burn everything down, all of it is valid. You have been wounded in one of the most intimate ways a person can be wounded, and your pain deserves to be honored, not minimized. Second, there is no wrong answer. Staying is not weakness. Leaving is not failure. The only wrong answer is the one that is made for you by someone else, by societal expectations or family pressure or the opinions of people who are not living your life. Whatever you choose, choose it for yourself. Choose it with open eyes and a clear head and the knowledge that you are strong enough to survive whatever comes next. Because you are. Even if you do not believe that right now, you are. I am living proof. Battered and scarred and held together in some places with nothing but willpower and love, but alive and whole and still standing. Still married. Still grateful for every imperfect, hard-won, beautiful day. If this story moved you, if it gave you something to think about or something to hold on to during a difficult time, I would be honored if you shared it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more stories like this one, real people navigating real pain with real courage, hit that subscribe button. Subscribe for more stories.